I am an architect. I live in Baroda, and I'm very excited to talk to you because my life changed, not when I was in school, but when I was in college. I used to swim for India, and I went to Baroda to become an architect. And I met somebody at the swimming pool, and he said to me he was an archaeologist. And he had spent 30 years of his life looking and excavating a buried city. And the city was 2,000 years old. So he kept taking me to the site. And in the daytime, from 7 in the morning to about 1 o'clock, I was in college learning absolutely things of no relevance to architecture. It was Western oriented. And then every day with him, I would go and see this beautiful buried city in the forest. And there would only be two of us. And after about 3 years of going 200-300 times, he said to me one day, he said, can I give this to you? So I said, look, it's very stupid for you to give it to me and for me to take it from you. It's not yours. So if you ask this question differently, I might say yes. So he comes back to me and he says to me, give me 30 years of your life. I said, that's easy. It's my life. I give it to you. What do I have to do? He said, make Champaner a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Come tomorrow and I'll give you 30 years of my work. And can you believe it? I went the next morning and he had died the night before. There was a huge trunk in his veranda, a black trunk. 30 years of his work was in the trunk, and my name was on top of the trunk. And his wife did not seem too sad that he had died. I was shocked. And she said, he was very happy that you said yes. Now you have to look after it for 30 years. And I was 23. And just to tell you, he was a teacher. He was my mentor, like all of you. And just to tell you that for 30 years, I gave my life to that site. And 30 years later, made it a World Heritage Site of UNESCO. The first time in the history of UNESCO that one man's work was honored. Champaner, Pavagadh. But just to tell you that that is the role you can play. You can change lives. And I'm going to end my story. I started with changing lives. My last slide is of Nelson Mandela, who says that education can help change lives. And I think that's what you can do. And you are the most precious people that I know. I'm not going to talk about only architecture. Forgive me, I'm going to talk about many things else. Here I'm talking to Sachin Tendulkar about sustainability because it's very funny. I learned about architecture in this buried city. I thought my life was two separate lives, one of architecture as an architect and one of working with Champaner. And then in 2004, I won the two biggest awards in the world. One was for the World Heritage Site, and one was the US Platinum Award, which had never been won by anyone in the world, for the greenest building in the world. And all from what I learned at Champaner. So just to tell you the incredible role. It's coming. So just to tell you, I've chosen this very beautiful saying from Lord Buddha, who says, your work is to discover your work, and then with all your heart to give yourself to it. And I think this is what teachers, very special teachers like you, must do. You must help people, students who were students like me, discover our work, our meaning, our purpose, our goal in life, and then help us to really go ahead and do it. That's my email. And if there is anything I can ever do for any of you, you just shout. I will come and speak in your school to help inspire your students and tell them the story of how I changed because of fantastic people like you. My title is Educating Beyond Green, Sustainability Beyond Currency, Learning Beyond Limitations, and Creativity Beyond Imagination. And I think that that is all that you must do for your students. So it was Benjamin Franklin who said, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn." And I think that is what your mode of teaching should be, to involve your students. These words are invaluable and speak to every student, teacher, and institute of higher learning. When we participate, when you make your students participate in an action, we not only learn, but our imaginations are freed to experiment, simplify, and improve upon the evolution of any idea that we may have. Our minds are transformed and the true potential of our intellectual abilities are unleashed. And that is what is the business, your business. A place where the impossible becomes probable and answers and solutions far outnumber problems. It is simple fundamentals such as these that lie at the heart of true sustainability. A movement based as much on creativity as it is on tradition. So these are some of my photographs on Champaner. 115 buildings above the ground, and I have left 4,000 buildings below the ground because we do not have the money to protect them. The most valuable lessons that I have learned from sustainability do not involve technology. You know, I'm very upset whenever I lecture worldwide, and I have lectured to President Clinton, to Tony Blair, to Karzai, at Davos, at the World Summit. I'm always told that technology has the answer. And they always say, what is the question? The arrogance of the West, thinking they don't even ask me the question. They assume they have the answer. And I say that we have such an extraordinary tradition. We have such an extraordinary, profound wealth of knowledge and wisdom that we do not really need only technology to solve our problems. These are my lessons learned from my involvement. So, I learned my architecture from the culture of our people and the wisdom of our honored traditions. And I think this is the focus and must be your focus in whatever you teach. Long before, we have now a system of green ratings for green buildings. So long before green rating systems, that's also Champaner, and multi-million-dollar industries that exploit these green systems, this is what I found in places like Champaner, where land, material, building, water was considered sacred. They used simple, time-honored techniques and this issue of sacredness. Techniques such as placing this building, techniques such as passive cooling, the use of courtyards, and the idea of the jali. You know, this idea of the jali is quite an extraordinary idea. You blow on your hand, it's hot. You close your lips and blow, it's cool. So when hot air goes through a small opening and expands, it cools. As simple as that. And that's what you found in the jalis of the Taj Mahal, Fatehpur Sikri and Champaner. Water was treated as sacred, and not only for providing life, but for sheltering life as well. You know, in the sun temples, you see this extraordinary kund of water, and they reflect the power of the water and the power of the sun. These examples of our sustainable heritage are not just lessons from the past, but tools to be utilized for the future. Never in the history of mankind has so much damage been done to the earth. Never in the last millennium has so much damage been done. We have destroyed 16,000 species in the last 10 years. We are killing 800 rhinos every day in Africa. We are killing in India 100 tigers every year. It's a disgrace. But never in the history of mankind has also so much been done as is being done now. It is just extraordinary. And no matter what you look and where you look, you will find that there is this huge concern that why can't we relook at the earth? Why can't you teach your children it is not enough to recycle, reduce, or reuse? You must regenerate. We must give back more than we got. And I'll show you, because I know what you're going to say. You know, this is a joke, but his wife went shopping and said, look after our daughter. And this girl came and did kitch, 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 and the husband wanted to watch a football game. So he got so fed up. There was a picture of the earth from space. So he took that picture and he tore it up in small pieces and he gave it to his daughter and said, put the earth together. And he said, chalo, at least now I've got half an hour of peace. She came back in 2 minutes. So the father said, how did you do it so quickly? She said, on the other side was a picture of her face. I put the face together, the earth came together. Meaning, we have destroyed the earth. So the only people who can really put this back is us. And therefore, I know what you're going to say. So we have to make a difference. You can make a difference. You have no idea how much of a difference you can make. It is with your passion that you can change the future of this country. It can't be done by Narendra Modi sitting in Delhi. It has to be done by you, and it is the kids that you teach who are actually going to change India. So I know what you're going to say, that I'm in Haridwar or I'm in a small little place, the problem is too big, and what the hell can I do? I'll show you. This guy is the mayor of Seoul in Korea, South Korea. And he was told that the main road in the city of Seoul, that's the main road which you see on the right, the main road was built on a 300-year-old beautiful river. So the mayor said, let's break the road and bring the river back. And that's what he did. One man. Today, 1.5 lakh people go every evening at that place. He brought it back. So look at this site. A very good friend of mine was quarrying the site for road gravel. And 100 acres look like that. And we teased him. And we said, Indu bhai, you're such a rich man. You don't need to do that with what God gave you. And I think he felt bad. So he started filling it with water. He started growing 6 lakh trees. And today, the site looks like this. One man. I have many avatars, but in one I am the president of the Association of British Scholars. Don't ask me, it sounds very pompous, but it's a very simple thing. It's for people who studied in England and come back. So it's not, we are not scholars, it's nothing very great. It's a horrible word, and I want to change it, but I am the president. So this little woman comes to Baroda, little woman, that woman, Jill, and she said, Karan, let's walk and collect money. I said, Jill, are you mad? In India, everybody walks and nobody gives money for walking. She said, we'll collect money, which is the most famous walk in Gujarat. And I said, Dandi. I had no clue where Dandi was. I didn't know how long Gandhiji took to go from where to Dandi. We had all heard of the Dandi March to pick up salt. We had a press conference and the press said, Karanji, where are you going? I said, Dandi. So one of the Times of India guy was a smart character. He said, do you know how far Dandi is? I said, no. How far is it? 20, 30, 40 kilometers? He said, no, it's 397. Jesus. We walked 397 kilometers. But guess what? How much money we raised? We collected 80 lakhs. For children, underprivileged children. I also run a school for deaf children. My wife is a teacher of the deaf. In fact, she is the president of the National Educators of the Deaf. And she has her big conference next month in Bhubaneswar. But just to tell you that that's the amount we collected. So we have decided to do this walk, not to Dandi every year, but do 10 kilometers instead of 397. So we are getting smart now and doing it in Baroda and trying to collect money. So this is the story of Champaner. That's my site in Champaner, a 10th century Lakulish temple. And it's very strange, when we won this, this is pre-Sultanate, but it is 2000 years. It starts pre-1st century, and it is the only site in the world which has 2000 years of building. So all which you can see. No, this is a particular period, but it has a history dating back to pre-1st century. So I had to choose a chief guest. So I asked President Kalam if he would come. And I must say he was terrific. He came and put up the plaque. And he had a speech. He had a speech and he threw away the speech once we reached Champaner. And I had given the speech to everyone. So I said, sir, you can't throw it away. Everyone's got your speech in there, on their table. He said, no, I'm giving another speech. What do you want me to do? And he had just inaugurated my building in Hyderabad, which was the greenest building in the world. So I said, two things you must promise me. You make Rashtrapati Bhavan green, which he did. It is the second building in the world of the world's two largest democracies. The White House, because President Clinton was very keen on this sustainability, and Abdul Kalamji made Rashtrapati Bhavan green. So just to tell you that he looked at this idea of heritage and said, did they teach this to you in school? And can you believe it? The answer was no. Nowhere in my education, all our textbooks are written in England. I don't know about yours. In architecture, though, every textbook is written not in India. So we don't know about the Nalagatta, we don't know about the courtyard, we don't know about the Angan, we do not know about the Jali, but we know dormer windows. We know Corinthian columns. We're never going to use it. So this whole thing, they always say that I am the champ of Champaner, but these are my new champions. And as Gandhiji said, we must be the change we wish to see. And the reason for showing you this, all of you very, very special people, is that this is my Champaner. I wish that all of you are able to instill in your students their champaner. Because if you give every student of yours some purpose, he will thank you for life. And the only people I know who can change the way we think is you. I think all this government is fine. They are talking about policy. But the actual change of actual people wanting to do something for the country and feeling proud that we are Indian or it is made in India is thanks to you. And you have to instill this in your students. Just to tell you, and I'm coming to a little bit on green schools, you won't believe it, but buildings consume more energy than transportation and industry. Do you believe it? It's true. We produce more carbon dioxide emissions. So, we must build green. You can save 50% energy, 100% lighting. Now let's take this room. If you count, there are 300 lights. We cannot use this room without the lights. Yes. And if you go to the Hyatt or any of these fancy hotels in Bombay, 600 lights in a room smaller than this. You cannot use this room without the light. Now that is strange, no? Because it would be fantastic if we could use the room without light. So we can save 100% lighting during the day. All my buildings are now 100% daylit. All the schools I'm doing, we can save 40% of water. The cost of running your school in 20 years is the cost of the school. No, you don't know how much it takes to run your school because you don't pay for it. Somebody is paying for it. But the cost of running your school in its lifetime is 3 times the cost of the school. No, then it becomes important, you know. And that is why green. And I tell you something else. They have found 20% better performance in schools in a green building. People come out of hospital quicker in a green hospital. In a factory, 18% has been proved to be better. When you learn and don't have to look at these lights and you have to learn with natural light, you retain faster. No, it's a win-win situation, no? So I don't see why you should, and somebody asked me on the front table whether you could retrofit a school. The answer is yes. Ki agar aapka school ho, it's an old building, we can redo the lighting, we can redo the glass, we can redo some fittings, water, energy, savings. We can do refitting, what we call retrofit. So, there must be, yes?
Light is all right, but what about people you see have the air-conditioned building?
No. Very simply to answer you, I have a bedroom. I live in a rented house. My air conditioner in my bedroom is the same as the children's bedroom. I'm facing the wrong direction. My room cools at 4 a.m. Their room cools at 11 p.m. The AC shuts off, the compressor. There is a saving in their air conditioning, but no saving in my air compressor never shuts off. So if you do a building north-south instead of east-west, you get no sun in the morning. And you think it's common sense, right? Ki building should be facing north and south. It's not common sense. Every single building I've seen faces east and west. I mean, they must be stupid, the architect. So you get the morning sun. Anil Ambani's building in Reliance Energy, he has 2 rooms. It faces east and west. One room is for the morning, one room is for the evening. Anil Ambani's room is not cool enough because he is facing the wrong direction. So what about your school? So I just say that, water efficiency, energy atmosphere, indoor air quality, this is what makes for green buildings. And it's very funny. I used to go around India trying to explain to chief ministers about sustainability. First was Naveen Patnaik, I'm doing work for him. I'm doing work for Narendra Modi when he was the chief minister. I was doing work for By the time I got to Nitesh Kumar, I could make out that nobody was interested in a lecture. They would say, chalo bhaiya, hamara building batao. So now I have got a new strategy. My first slide is how much money to save. So my first slide for Nitesh Kumar was, sir, I'll save you 52 crore. So there was pin drop silence. He said, banao. I said, thank you. Can I show you my building? It was a cabinet meeting. It was the Vidhan Sabha. I said, sir, can I show you my building? He said, nahi, banao. I said, sir, wo design to dekhna hoga aapko. I'm an architect. He said, nahi dekhna hai. Banao. I said, I beg of you. Can I show you the building? He said, if you beg, show me the building. I don't want to see it. And he jhadoed the cabinet. That you people never tell me you can save 52 crore. How is this guy coming and telling me? No. So I'm trying to address that Bill Green because you profit. That you understand. Yes, sir. Tell me. Not entrance. I didn't say that. No, I didn't say entrance. No, I said the building should, the longer length of the building should face north and south. Your entrance can be anywhere.
When the facing of the building is in north or south, if it is building of 2 or 3 floors, then in the opposite direction, north direction, you will not get any sunlight in the winter days.
No. You're completely mistaken. All classrooms in the world, it is mandatory to face north. Because when the sun goes from east to west, the north remains the most constant light. It is the softest light, it is the cleanest light, and it is the gentlest light. So if your classrooms can face north, there's no question of not getting a light in winter. Wait, do me a favor, just give me a second. I'm coming to that. Maybe some of your questions will be answered. I'm just coming to that. Give me half a minute. I went and got this big award in America. And I went to America to get the award, and there were 7,000 people in a room 5 times this size who were invited for lunch. And it was a pre-plated lunch. So there were 2,000 waiters running to give you the first course, then taking the first course and running to give you the second course. And I had to give a speech saying thank you. I wanted to tell them they were stupid, but I couldn't. It would have been bad manners. So my speech was called What the Khiskoli Says. Khiskoli, squirrel. So I said the Khiskoli is saying that you people are stupid. I'm not saying it. Khiskoli was saying it. Why don't you build like me? I mean, like the Khiskoli. Why don't you build facing north? Why don't you build away from the rocks where the snakes? I don't build near the rocks because the snakes are there to kill me. I told every single complaint I had through the eyes of the Khiskoli. And the Americans loved it because I was not saying it. The Khiskoli was saying it. But I showed these 2 drawings. Each drawing is a Mughal painting. One is Shah Jahan's trip and something else. That all the things that the Americans said were new for sustainability were there in our drawings and paintings 600 years ago. So we have that, and that's what I want to tell you as teachers. That apart from your text, if you were to encourage stories of your tradition, of your history, of your culture, it would be so much more meaning. It would give the students a sense of pride. So let me just say that if you want some ideas to build right, sit gently on the ground. Ground is sacred. These are all the buildings that you see are my buildings. The idea of sitting lightly on the earth. This is the idea of passive design. This is a building I've done first in Bangalore, then repeated it all over the country. The idea of a wind tower and wind towers and cooling, so that in the wind tower I'm able to reduce 11 degrees Celsius. By sprinkling water, the water makes the air heavier, the air comes down in a tower, and then you let it in on the on the bottom of your building. 11 degrees Celsius. So from 40, I have brought it down to 29. 29 is okay. You don't need air conditioning. So, if you look at the pyramid on the left, if you look at traditional systems, the AC is less. If you ignore traditional systems, the AC becomes more in the inverted pyramid. Here is another friend who built this for Anand Mahindra, who is the chairman of Mahindra. His house in Ali Bagh. And the same idea, the idea of the louvers. This is a fantastic school built by 2 people in Bangladesh. It's a school. 2 foreigners came from Finland. And with the students and the teachers and the parents, they built this school of mud and bamboo. The Aga Khan was so impressed. The Aga Khan gave them the Aga Khan Award for Architecture. A building built by the teachers, by the students, by the parents. I did some work for Jairam Ramesh, and I was trying to explain to him that if I could, by design, I just proved by design that if you look at that triangle at the bottom, I'm reducing the energy with passive means. So you don't need technology. And I was able to save something like 15 crore in 10 years just on energy alone. So it's huge, the saving in a green school. You cannot tell me that it doesn't mean anything for you. So like that, the idea of orientation, north and south. Here the building was facing east and west. My plot was east-west. So I did a narrow courtyard, which only gets sun for 20 minutes in the day, and was able to cool the building. Also, just the idea that the sun goes from east to west. So if you block east and west with toilets, services, staircases, lifts, and insulate the wall, add courtyards, and look at the wind direction, the building is green. These 6 things, very simply. You must think of a slim building. It is possible to bounce light 20 feet. So if the building is lagbhag 40 feet, lagbhag approximately, you can get north light and south light, and therefore you can get daylight. So all our buildings are slim buildings. The idea I've explained to you of the jali, the climatic skin. I'm just doing this hospital for Naveen Patnaik and Mr. Ratan Tata, and we are using jalis in this hospital, 500-bedded hospital at Gopalpur. Again, the use of the courtyard. So courtyards, jalis. This is a building in Paris, which has just won the best building of the year, the Pritzker Prize, and it's a jali. And the jali moves like an aperture of a camera. If there is less light, it becomes bigger. If it's more light, it becomes smaller. So just to tell you, you can reduce concrete. These are buildings which have less concrete. We've designed in buildings in the idea of zero waste. Don't waste material. Try to use all the material that comes into the site. That's a building we're doing for Naya Raipur. I've been shortlisted as one of the 3 architects for the Vidhan Sabha. The idea of, plants. There are some plants in India which the roots can clean water. So the water which comes from your WC goes into the ground, passes the roots, gets cleaned and comes out. You can use it for gardening. 100% recycling. So things like that, the idea of 100% daylight, and I think this is the houses of a very rich man where we try to use courtyards with light. I must tell you something, that you must have this idea of carbon release when you construct. So if 50% of your site, if you can keep green, it will help in carbon alleviation. So this is something that you must do. So people ignore design that ignores people. Most of our heritage has passed down generations, and we honor it today. We have taken many things for granted, and future generations will have to pay the price of our neglect. Let's take the Ganga. It is not only sacred to Hindus, but it has been a lifeline for all religion for centuries. Decades of abuse. This has become absolutely toxic. Yet, millions of us travel to pay homage to the traditions of old. And instead, I think we should be apologizing for our neglect. And look at it, people drink the water. I mean, it is a disgrace, and we call it holy. Our river. Centuries of abuse we have placed on our environment. And what is this guy going to inherit? That's the earth he's going to inherit. It is these kids that you teach. And these kids have already surpassed many of our greatest expectations and will continue to astonish and enlighten us. They have fantastic access to information. And you have to channel this access because the internet gives you a lot of information, maybe too much information. It accelerates their ability to process this, all the children. And I know that technology should be used to better our lives and protect our environment. But you must look at yourself to rediscover the true essence of sustainability. As I told you, buildings account for 50%, and it is every piece of trash that is not biodegradable. Just look at that. This is a very common sight in our cities. It is not every piece of paper not utilized to the fullest. And it is you, me, together, us. It is all of us. It is the choices we make and the actions. And this is the word I'm going to keep coming back to, actions. Access to technology has given us access with the push of a button, like the phone in your pocket. And religious texts from all faiths can be accessed from free applications. But this whole issue of the idea of India, I think, must be pursued by all of you. We must also change how we educate. Students can no longer be looked at or treated as unknowing, and educators like you must adapt in order to impact rather than shape. You must impact their life instead of shaping it. Educating beyond tomorrow calls for a creative approach beyond the limitations of our imagination. It requires a hands-on approach from students and teachers alike. Approaches where failure does not end in fear, but with a renewed vigor to succeed. Educating beyond green isn't the future of tomorrow, it is the power of the present. We shape our buildings, and after that, the buildings shape our lives. You must
Lately, we've
see
been
this
hearing a lot
video
about
on
global
carbon.
warming, and words like carbon footprint, climate shift, carbon dioxide, and climate change. But what is carbon? And what does it have to do with climate change? Carbon is everywhere in the ecosystem, and it is always moving. Some of it is floating in the atmosphere. Plants absorb carbon from the air and store it in their bodies. When animals eat plants, they eat carbon. And when something bigger eats those animals, they're having a carbon snack too. But that carbon won't stay still for long. When an animal poops or something dies, carbon moves around again. Some of it is held in the soil for a while. And eventually, most of it ends up back in the atmosphere. The same type of process happens in the oceans too. Most of the carbon dioxide gas on Earth is actually dissolved in ocean water. Some of the carbon from dead plants and animals was trapped underground, and over millions and millions of years it turned into coal, oil, and gas. And that's pretty much how the system works. Some carbon has stayed deep underground for millions of years, but the rest moves around the ecosystem from the air to plants to animals and back into the atmosphere. And that's the story of the carbon cycle. Well, it was, until we came along. We've been cutting down a lot of forests that used to absorb carbon from the atmosphere. And we've been digging up carbon from deep underground and burning it for energy. Doing that pumps that old carbon back into the air. By getting rid of plants and burning lots of fossil fuels, we've changed the system. The atmosphere is filling up with carbon faster than plants and oceans can absorb it. All this extra carbon in the air is like a blanket around the Earth that traps in extra heat from the sun. And things are changing all over the globe. But now that we know that we are part of the system, we can do things to keep it in balance. We can stop chopping down forests and plant trees. We can use less energy. Even better, we can find other sources of energy and leave the ancient carbon underground and out of the atmosphere.
Okay, so this is to tell you about what is carbon. I think about 246 million children, of which 84% go to school. So that's a huge number in India. I think a green school is one that creates a healthy environment that is conducive to learning while saving energy, resources, and money. I want you to know that 14 million school days are lost in America by school children who get asthma. And they get asthma because of the indoor air quality. So, you have people being absent. As I said before, a lot of the materials in this very room are giving toxic fumes, like the carpet, like the ceiling, like the walls, like the plaster. So I think it is very important that we are able to provide better indoor quality. A green school does not have to be like that building on the left. It can be like the building on the right. So it can be contemporary, it can be modern. It doesn't have to be some fuddy-duddy place in the woods. It has fantastic economic benefits and as well as productivity benefits. As I said, the children learn faster, they retain more, they are able to be slightly more aggressive in the whole process of learning. I have been told these myths, which everybody is wrong. One is that it's too complicated. What is in the environment, hamare se kya? What can it do for us? It's very expensive. That's also rubbish. My building cost 17% more when I built it in the year 2000. The payback was 7 years. Today it is 2%, and the payback is 2 years. So yes, you have to put in some initial funds, but 2% is very, very small. The fact that the cost of not going green is much, much bigger. People say that, bhaiya, we don't get green materials. I was the first to use a waterless urinal in India. The other day I was coming from Bombay to Baroda by car, and I stopped to have a batata vada. And I went into the toilet and there was a waterless urinal. So I came out and asked the guy, I said, तुम्हें इसके बारे में कैसे पता चला? He said, यहाँ पानी नहीं है. So now the waterless urinal is being used on the highway by a dhaba. So contractors do not know. That is also not true. We are now teaching contractors. Architects, maintenance is easy because you have built in the maintenance in a green building. So I have a feeling that these are only excuses or half knowledge that why can't we go green. I think it is very important, and these are 10 ways to green your school. One is, why don't you measure? If you do not know what you waste, how can you stop wasting? If you do not know how much you use, how can you make it less? So measure it, conduct energy assessment, water assessment, go behind the screens, ask the gardener how much water he uses to water the lawn, reduce the lawn area, choose plants which use less water, for example, find out from the plumber and the electrician, get behind the scenes, get the people involved, put kids in charge. You know, we've started a campaign, I must tell you. I must give you my, if you can remember my email, kga@kga.co.in. We have started a competition of greening your school. And United Technology has given us 10 lakhs every year to give it to one school who produces the best idea for sustaining the school. So why don't all your schools participate? I'm one of the judges. And whoever wins gets this 10 lakhs to the kids to implement the change that they wish to see. Explain the background, explain how things work, so that students then realize what doesn't work and why doesn't it work. What about collecting the manure, compost? Why don't you grow something organic? I know many schools who are having organic vegetables and growing organic stuff. Let the sun come into the school, have daylight. Let their, this dust that you talk about, the volatile organic compound, VOC, remove them, because they actually hurt the students and the environment. Every school smells. I don't know about your school, but every school I've been to smells. So whether it's bad maintenance, whether it is not hygiene, make sure that you get rid of this smell in schools. Lights out. Is it possible to put lights out? Can you get LEDs into the school? And what about this idea of carpooling? Can you make it mandatory that no one comes in his private car and that at least 10 students or 5 students or 4 students in an area get together and find ways to come? The idea of a sustainable future in schools requires every student and every teacher to rethink and relearn what is being ignored. These steps do not require unlimited funds, but they require your dedication. Teaching children simple techniques to protect the environment are easy, and getting them inspired will require teachers like yourselves to become creative. This is a school in New York, and this school is called the Edible School. This school is going to produce its own energy, heat, and rainwater. It is a great way to introduce sustainability into the children's lives. This may be expensive for some of us, but building a simple garden on school grounds is not. Neither is teaching children the importance of water conservation and recycling. The true value of sustainability is not measured by money, but in footprint. While it takes enormous amount of technology to make a building with modern conveniences sustainable, buildings such as these account for a very small proportion of our built environment. Tell me, how much does it cost to use 2 sides of a sheet of paper or to turn off the tap while you brush our teeth? We need to stop comparing sustainability to the high price of green buildings, because that is not true. We need to educate and re-educate ourselves to act, because I feel in some cases we assume what we hear is fact over fiction. We have to reprogram our own attitudes, and rethinking the design of our schools is also very important. Outdated buildings can turn into a sauna. I mean, you have to come to Baroda and see what these buildings are like in the summer. This school is built in bamboo and is in Bali, on the island of Bali. It's in a very nice jungle, and it is got a lot of recycled systems and generators and solar panels, demonstrating what a green building could be. It also inspires the children to be more curious, more engaged, and more passionate about the environment and the planet. This is another school, and it's a floating school, and it reflects the culture of this community. They've used wood because wood is abundant in this area, and the green space gives way to the water because it is a floating school. There is yet another campus in Africa which is replacing a dilapidated existing facility and has an enormous effect on the learning of the children. We need to stop comparing sustainability to the high price of green buildings, because that is not true. We need to educate and re-educate ourselves to act, because I feel in some cases we assume what we hear is fact over fiction. We have to reprogram our own attitudes, and rethinking the design of our schools is also very important. Outdated buildings can turn into a sauna. I mean, you have to come to Baroda and see what these buildings are like in the summer. This school is built in bamboo and is in Bali, on the island of Bali. It's in a very nice jungle, and it is got a lot of recycled systems and generators and solar panels, and it is demonstrating what a green building could be. It also inspires the children to be more curious, more engaged, and more passionate about the environment and the planet. This is another school, and it's a floating school, and it reflects the culture of this community. They've used wood because wood is abundant in this area, and the green space gives way to the water because it is a floating school. There is yet another campus in Africa which is replacing a dilapidated existing facility and has an enormous effect on the learning of the children. They've used bricks, cut down cost of transportation, limited the use of inappropriate material, and encouraged local markets. I've also talked to you about this school in Bangladesh, but I show you some pictures of the exterior and the interior and how they built this with local material and got involved with the children and their parents and the teachers. And in fact, this Methi school has changed the lives of these people. I must show you this bridge in China. It's called the Bridge School. There's a small village called Xiaxi, and there is a creek that runs in between. So this acts as a bridge, and plays a very important part in the social fabric of the community. I think that is what a school should do if you are in the business of making a new building. So I say that there are examples around the world, from rural communities to urban centers, And whilst there are very few sustainable schools in India, most of our schools suffer from poor design and are in a poor condition. How can we ever expect our children to take an interest in sustainability when the environment we provide them for learning is anything but sustainable? So the need of the hour is action. This is the third time I've used this word. And if we fail to act, we must blame ourselves. The answers to green schools cannot be found within a forum or textbook. Academics cannot teach you how to be sustainable. Only action can. So educating beyond tomorrow requires an educational system thinking beyond tomorrow. You must go beyond tomorrow. Our youngsters look to us and look to you for guiding and opening to learning for them, and we must find ways to connect to them. This is my wife's deaf school, and we have 180 deaf children who actually look at your lips and lip read you. We must find ways to broaden their minds as well as our own, to seek new values and new traditions, to spend ourselves dedicated to a cause greater than ourselves, to bask in the enlightenment of nature which smiles on the faces of those who matter most. I want to end with 3 messages for you. That let it be borne in mind that the tragedy of life does not lie in not reaching your goals. The tragedy lies in not having any goals to reach for. It is not a tragedy to die with dreams unfulfilled, but it is a calamity to have no dreams and hold no value. I think this is what you must teach your children, that it's a calamity to have no dreams and hold no values. The second point I want to make is that sustainability beyond tomorrow calls for every one of you to educate the generation of today. And my last slide is what I began, and this is Nelson Mandela, who says that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And so I therefore urge you that you are the agents of change. Thank you so much.
I must compliment Ankur, Stuti, all of them for having such a wonderful gentleman here. Sir, my only question and only fear and only sorrow is that why do we have only one Karan grower? Why we can't have so many Karan growers there? This is one thing. Why we cannot have our architects like you? Because when I design a building, I don't know anything about green or black or blue building. I go to an architect, he prepares the drawings, and my school, Malik, he does everything there. He says, put quota here, put granite here, do these things here, put fancy lights here, and that's what we accept. In fact, you opened our eyes today. We have become much richer. And when we go back to our schools, I'm sure each and everyone sitting here will be an ambassador of Green School. This is one thing which I want to assure you. Sir, my simple question is, very simple question, it may look stupid too. In Delhi, in Mathura, in all these places, in Madhya Pradesh, we find a lot of sand mafia is there. And they take sand from the river bed there, and they pollute river, and rivers die. I do not know when we shall find a substitute for sand in building material. Once again, I must compliment you, sir. We all salute you. A great talk, a great theme. Thank you very much.
I have to thank you for thanking me. No. I have to thank you. I want to say something. I would like to offer any help to any school in any capacity whenever you want.
Thank you very much. Sir, what was the sand business?
I will talk to you at dinner.
Just hold for a moment. Just read it. On behalf of Team NMDF can I request you to give a small token of gift to Karan sir for coming here, taking out time for all of us, and really giving a new thing. It's not about recycling. It is about regenerating. Things we can regenerate themselves. Thank you so much. You can do it. I mean, like, if you, yeah. It's a good idea to be closer to people.
I think he wants to go to the stage. What do you think?
I love to be here on the floor only, always, yeah. Thank you very much, such great, wonderful, and actually writing. Definitely.
आप लोग ताली बजाने में इतने कंफ्यूज क्यों हैं वैसे?
Thank you.
If you have, okay. So go ahead.
Okay, good evening, sir. Thank you for your suggestions.
I'm in trouble.
One thing, these ideas can be used in societies also. What- yeah.
Yes.
So you should have some seminar with them also.
Sure.
That society can be made like that.
Sure.
And second thing, you told that learning in natural light is 18% better. Natural light. So if the houses are glass based, so the sunlight is coming inside, that is also better. Or we have
No,
to
no.
sit
If you
outside?
do north-south, there is no sun. Because in the north there is no sun.
Yeah.
And if you tilt the window on the south, there is no sun.
Yeah.
So sunlight is not good,
Okay.
but light is good.
Okay.
So you have to distinguish between good light and bad light.
Yeah.
And we can do that by now with different qualities of glass and so forth. So it is not let me put it another way, it is a serious calculation one makes on how you let in light without the heat.
No, suppose our house is east or west facing.
You can still work on that.
So, the light
No,
is
we
coming
can work on that, surely.
through the glass.
Yes.
So, it is better as of now or not?
No, it is good, but I can't give you a blanket opinion because east and west is really not good, but it can be protected, is what I'm saying, architecturally.
Okay, next thing, you have told that north and south facing rooms should be encouraged. But due to some facts, there are some facts that wind always blows from
Southwest.
west to south, west to east, and sometimes east to west. So those rooms are more airy if you make your rooms east or west southing.
It's actually southwest.
No,
Yes.
no.
Yes.
No,
Southwest and northeast.
I have also studied this. It is from west to east most of the time, and sometimes in the opposite direction, means east to west.
No, but it's not, I'm telling you.
Okay.
It is slightly southwest and northeast.
Okay.
So you monitor it that it doesn't come from the west and it comes from the southeast.
No, I have experienced this in my house also, in our school building also. School building has
No,
L shape.
let's discuss this. Let's not bore other people with your school building.
Okay. Okay, but that's all I wanted to ask this.
Okay.
And one more thing, air pollution is also inside the room.
Yeah, it's called indoor air quality.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
So,
That the indoor air quality here is not good, for example.
Yeah.
Because of the pollution of toxicity from materials which are toxic.
Okay, but in the olden days, children used to sit outside. So nowadays, should we encourage children to study outside if it is in the evening or early morning?
No, correct. In most of my buildings, we have courtyards. I've done schools with every classroom with a courtyard. So
Okay.
that happens automatically.
Okay.
Yeah?
Thank you, sir.
Definitely, your eye-opener for all of us. We are aware, but now today, we have got so many things from you. My question is that as you have told that cost-wise, we can recover the cost in 20 years, as you have.
2 years.
2 years. But actually, the initial cost for building, as it's a myth or fact, I don't know, whatever I have read in Delhi through newspaper, that it is the green building is initial cost is very high.
No,
Although I should not talk about it because for school it's education is
No,
more
sir,
important.
it is not correct. I told you that I did the first green building in the country. In the year 2000, it was 16% more. And it took 7 years to recover the incremental cost. Today we are doing it at 2%, we are striving to make it the same value. So
No,
that information is not correct. And that's why I said it's a myth. You didn't see my presentation, but in the presentation I said one of the myths is that it is expensive.
That's why I used the word myth. It's okay, the 16%, it is the extra cost which is,
But sir, that was in 2000, not today. Today it is 2%.
no, how much is the extra initial cost?
2%.
2% only.
Yes,
Acha, is it applicable for ordinary houses, not for the societies?
yes,
It's
yes.
only for, that is also approximately
2%. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, I am Rimi from Aishwar School, Faridabad. Just wanted to bring to your notice that in our school we are following so many things what you have shared today. We are maintaining 2 dustbins in every class, biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste. And our sweepers are also trained. We have got 2 bins separate, and we
Terrific.
do all these things. And we also run the projects like Save Water, Save Electricity, and which is doing really good. So thanks for your inspiration talk.
So
Thank
maybe
you.
she should be the next speaker. Or maybe you all should do what she's doing. One
Thank you, sir.
round of applause. Come on.
I will share
Manjusi,
so many
mat
things.
karo.
Yeah, I'll share so many things. We are doing so many different things.
But why don't
in
you
our
convince
school.
your colleagues?
Sorry?
You convince them to do it.
I'll do it over.
She should have a special-
Over the dinner talk.
Okay, done.
Thank you.
I want to share with all the teachers there, when our school was coming up, so we had to have the tree plantation. I was quite novice what to do, but we planted certain trees, and our children conducted an experiment. See, in very hot summer, in the month of May, when outside temperature was 41 degrees Celsius, so they carried out one exercise, that what temperature is under different trees. So entire class 10, they had 40 thermometers, they conducted this experiment. And they found 41 degrees Celsius. When they went outside under the tree of people or neem or amla or trees, they found temperature difference dropped by 1.5 degree, 2 degrees. But under mulberry tree, they found temperature difference 4 degrees Celsius there. And you see, it had a lot of cooling effect there, and we planted large number of mulberry trees there. Mulberry tree, mulberry, M-A-U-L, mall, S-H-R-E-E, mulberry tree. And this tree is such a wonderful tree, and its fruit is also very good. So we tried that tree there, and children then found why this temperature is less. They took up a project also.
So this was not a question, this was yeah, a comment.
Can we have solar panels we were thinking of, sir?
Let me tell you something, a secret. No matter how many visiting cards you collect, you will have to go through kga@kga.co.in. So, so that's a normal process. He has set up the structure to reach out to him, and here we go.
Thank you. Once again, thank you very much. Huh?
Thank you so much, sir, for doing the wonderful job.